Welcome back. This is Meet the Press. Now, 10 years ago, Ken Allen was Australia's Consul General in New York. He joins us now. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Hugh.
10th anniversary.
Good morning, Dylan.
Good morning.
10th anniversary. What does it bring back for you? What is a signal thing that sticks in your mind of that day?
A sense of the tragedy of the day. You know, people ask about what the lessons were, and I always think about that second plane hitting the second tower, which I saw when I knew I was part of a huge tragedy. And I think we came from a world of innocence at that time. You know, Leighton Hewitt had just won the US Open. Some great things were happening in the world. And then to see something like that happen right in front of your eyes, I think that brought a sense of reality about what the world had become in one stark moment.
You were only in the job of Consul General to New York for about 2.5 weeks before the attack. What was your instinctive response?
Well, at first I thought, when people said come round and watch what would happen, that there had been a nasty accident. So it was a surreal world at that point in time. When the second plane came in, and we knew that we were part of a horrible tragedy, and Jill, my wife, who had been there with me, Ambassador Douth, who was absolutely fantastic, and the consular staff, we said, we've got to get together, understand what's going on. We think about 150 Australians might be in those buildings, and we've got to go to the hospitals and find them. Obviously, they weren't at the hospitals because they either survived or died that day.
Tragically, 10 Australians died in the attack. How long did it take then to understand the Australian death toll and work out where the Australians that were in the financial district at the time were?
It took probably 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks to get that final number. But, you know, there's a whole horrible process that I don't want to talk to anybody about at this point in time in trying to link certain things with certain things that had happened. But Jill and I, you know, went downtown. We were doing things that we had to do. You know, there was Bill Clinton down there too. It was an amazing sense of togetherness, but the consequences of our job were quite tragic.
Everyone talks about the dust that day, but you also remember the smell. What was it? What was the smell?
Well, you have to be there to understand the smell. It was a smell that I can smell right at this moment. It was a smell of devastation. It was a very peachy smell. If you think of perfumes as being thin or thick, it was a thick, aromatic, peachy smell. And if you ask anybody that was there, what do they remember? One of the things that they do remember are the people walking down the avenues with white dust all over them, the firefighters rushing towards the tower, but they certainly remember the smell. They forget the fighter jets, all of those things that were buzzing over top. The smell was something that I will remember forever.
10 years on, I mean, this week there's been a lot of footage, everyone reliving what occurred. How have you found that?
Well, I can't imagine how 10 years have gone so quickly. I think that's the first feeling that I had. I was... I've always found it difficult to watch footage of that occurrence. Jill and I have got to know the families over the 10 years, and the 10 families. They're amazing people. We had a ceremony in the Botanic Gardens where we left a plaque there and named the 10. Over 60 people turned up. My dear friend, the Consul General, Niels Marquand, was there. It was a moment for us, if you like, for the people that were there. 10 years on, you know, I'm still angry, actually. It's suppressed anger. I know there's jobs to do to make sure that those events don't occur again, but I feel for the families that died. There were Australians just doing their jobs. They were working with their American mates, and, you know, there was incidents of people just coming to work early. Hadn't done that before for the rest of all their lives, and horrible stories.
There were those who died. There were those who were also traumatised for life, and there were particularly some workers with the Reserve Bank of Australia were in the building next door. They came to you in those first hours. What state were they in? What had they seen?
Well, I think they were in a state of shock. You know, it was actually the old black building that I'd actually worked in at one point in time in my life, which was very close. It was the old Merrill Lynch building. In fact, I still wear a belt buckle that I bought at Brooks Brothers there. They'd walked out of that building. And as they walked out, there were people falling out of the buildings, jumping out of the buildings, and they were traumatised. But they got there, they were traumatised, and I understand that some of them still feel it immensely today. It's changed their lives, but they got on with the job. Aussies do get on with the job. They had a job to do. We helped them do that, and they became part of the Aussie need over there to be together, and something that we tried to do. It was one of the things that I think the consulate did amazingly well. Our job was to say yes, not to say no to people. And Jill, my wife, pushed all the furniture to the side of the room, invited all the mums and bubs to come there, and they came in their hordes. There were pushes all the way down the hall, in the street, and all they wanted was a cup of tea and a Vegemite sandwich and to talk together.
On a diplomatic level, do you think that Australia's relationship with the United States was changed permanently on that day?
It's always been strong. I think it was just a demonstration of the strength of the relationship. In my humble opinion, the way that Australia was touched so deeply is, talks about the strength of the relationship. There were flags up, American flags up in my suburb of Mossman, I understand, and all around Australia. The American relationship, they're not just friends, they're allies. It's a very special relation that goes deep. We are very much like them.
Okay. Ken Allen, thanks very much for sharing those reminiscences or those memories with us today.
Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Dylan.
Thanks also to our panel, Lauren Wilson and Dylan Welsh. A transcript will be on our website. See you later.